Thank you. Welcome once again. I'm Teacher Bernard Ocheng, teacher of chemistry. In this lesson, we are going to look at the effects of heat on sulfur. Generally, sulfur, as we read in our last lesson, is yellow in color. And when it is heated, first of all, it melts around 113 degrees Celsius. This sulfur melts to form a clear amber liquid. And from this experiment, it's just about to melt. As it melts, I'm going to explain each and every step that occurs during melting. So, what happens is that when you heat sulfur, first of all, it melts to form a clear amber liquid, which is very easy, which can flow easily. And generally, it consists of the S8 packed rings. This, you can see the rings. If you continue the solid state, and then if you continue, it forms a clear amber liquid of S8. S8, they appear like those ornaments that we call them the people who are working, those who are putting, like those who are Mr. Kenya, Miss Kenya, they put those things like that. It appears like that. And then the moment you heat it to a temperature slightly above 150, generally it turns brown, and then it's like a syrup. It appears like a syrup, and as you continue heating, this one here is still forming a clear amber liquid. As you heat, it is still clear and less viscous. As you can see, it is still less viscous as you continue heating. That is at a temperature around 150. So as you continue heating, the S8 chains of these molecules, they break up. As they break up to form a long chain molecule of S8. Now, these are millions upon millions of molecules. So the moment they open up to the straight chain S8 chains, they entangle each other. In fact, once they have already opened up, they entangle each other. As they entangle each other, sulfur, which is already in molten state, becomes more viscous and hardly flows at this temperature. This is now temperature above around 250. It hardly flows. Slightly above 150 to 250, it hardly flows, and the color also turns a bit dark, dark brown, dark red, and then the moment it is heated to a temperature above 444, there, now the already opened chain will break into shorter S4, S3, S2 molecules. And then now it will be able to flow and flow once again. Now if you look at this once again, this one here is a bit viscous. You can see the viscosity has increased. In fact, it is now viscous. This is now at a temperature between 150 to 250. You can see it looks like a syrup. And indeed, if we can now allow it to continue heating, it will now turn again to be less viscous. As of now, as you speak, this one now is very viscous. You can see for yourself. That is how sulfur behaves. As I've explained, that at a temperature it darkens and it becomes almost black, and its viscosity reduces, and indeed the long chains are broken into shorter. That one is when it's now slightly above 250. At 444, sulfur boils to form brown vapor of sulfur, brown vapor, which consists of a mixture of S8, S6, and S2. And these are now makes it to appear less viscous, and indeed some yellow sublimate will be observed on the colder part, as we shall observe in our experiment here. Now, this is what if we pour into cold water, it forms a plastic sulfur, as you had seen in our previous lesson. Remember, plastic sulfur is one form of the crystalline forms of sulfur. Now, if we look at the chemical properties this sulfur. Generally, sulfur, when it is burnt in oxygen, it burns the blue flame first, and when it is burnt in oxygen or air, it forms sulfur 4 oxide. This one you call it sulfur 4 oxide. And in excess oxygen, or in a case where there is excess oxygen, sulfur 6 oxide is being formed. And this is the equation for the reaction to form sulfur 6 oxide. Generally, this sulfur can as well be mixed with iron and heated. When you mix, iron is green color, sulfur is yellow. You mix the two almost in equivalent proportion, and then you heat. You can use a dish, but it's good that you use the crucible because the quantity of heat that is produced is a lot. So when iron reacts with sulfur, first the reaction starts and it continues to glow. It continues to glow without involving further heat. It therefore means that when the sulfur reacts with iron, it generates a lot of heat. In chemistry, we say the reaction is exothermic, and indeed, a lot of heat is produced, and that is what makes the mixture to glow. It glows like that of a charcoal. You see, when charcoal burns, it glows. The color that you observe is a glow, a red glow. So that is exactly what is happening here. And a black iron 2 sulfide is formed. Black. This product here is a salt. Black iron 2 sulfide is formed. If you look at, again, other reactions, other chemical reactions of sulfur, if you take powdered copper and then you mix with sulfur and then heat the mixture, you'll obtain copper 1 sulfide. This copper 1 sulfide. In fact, in this case here, sulfur is a weak oxidizing agent. It cannot oxidize copper to copper 2. Instead, it will oxidize it to just copper 1 sulfide. And then again, sulfur can as well combine with nonmetals. Nonmetals, for example, carbon and hydrogen. Under high pressure, when carbon combines with sulfur, it forms carbon disulfide or carbon 4 sulfide. Carbon 4 sulfide is highly poisonous, and the same applies to hydrogen. Hydrogen combined with sulfur at high temperatures, it forms hydrogen sulfide. Nearly all of us at one particular time, we have had the smell of hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide mainly is found from rotten egg. Rotten egg smell, you can imagine that kind of smell. In fact, when those proteins they decompose, they produce hydrogen sulfide, and that is exactly what people normally get. The smell. That smell is due to production of hydrogen sulfide. Another important reaction that I want us to underscore here is the way sulfur reacts with the sulfuric 6 acid. Sulfur, if you pour sulfur in concentrated sulfuric acid and then you warm the mixture, hot concentrated sulfuric acid, sulfur 4 oxide is formed. This sulfur 4 oxide, how do we confirm that this gas is formed? This gas, when you bubble it, this gas here, through nitric acid, when you bubble it through potassium chromate 6, it changes from orange to green, as we shall see. Now, indeed, when you mix sulfur and hot concentrated sulfuric acid, and then you allow the reaction to occur, sulfur 4 oxide gas is formed, and some element of water. How about sulfur and hot concentrated nitric acid? Hot concentrated nitric acid reacts with the sulfur, and in fact, in this case here, nitric acid is acting as an oxidizing agent. It oxidizes sulfur to sulfuric 6 acid. Sulfuric 6 acid. And itself is being reduced to nitrogen 4 oxide and water. So in this case here, nitric acid oxidizes sulfur to sulfuric 6 acid, yet itself is being reduced to nitrogen 4 oxide. How do we confirm that indeed this sulfuric 6 acid or sulfate ions are already formed? We use either barium chloride or barium nitrate solution. Should it form a white precipitate, then we confirm that indeed that sulfate ions has been formed. That's why this statement says that to form sulfuric acid, the presence of sulfate ions in sulfuric acid can be tested using barium chloride or barium nitrate. And should white fluid precipitate be formed, then that one confirms the presence of sulfate ions. Thank you. This marks the end of our lesson today, and we have learned that indeed how to extract sulfur from the underground, how the properties of sulfur, particularly the chemical properties, and we also seen forms of sulfur, the types of sulfur we have seen. So in our next lesson, we'll be able to look at the uses of sulfur and even discuss more on oxides of sulfur. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time. Thank you.